So why don't we go ahead and graph this function? We're going to state the domain, the zeros, which are the x-intercepts, the asymptotes, and maybe even the y-intercept if there is one. So the first thing I want to do is determine the domain. So I'm going to set the denominator equal to 0. So I have x equals negative 1/3 when I solve for x. So my domain is x such that x doesn't equal negative 1/3. And then x equals negative 1/3 is my vertical asymptote. There's no place to write everything. I've got a vertical asymptote at x equals negative 1/3. So I'm going to go ahead and draw that. So here's x equals negative 1/3. Okay, I tried. X equals negative 1/3. Now, my degree of my numerator is 0, and the degree of my denominator is 1. So because the degree of my numerator is less than the degree of my denominator, I have a horizontal asymptote at y equals 0. So my graph will never cross the line y equals 0. Well, because my graph can never cross the line y equals 0, which is where if it crossed I'd have an x-asymptote, an x-intercept, there are no x-intercepts, but I can calculate my y-intercept. So my y-intercept is when x equals 0. I have y equals 2/3 times 0 plus 1. So y equals 2/1, which is 2. So y equals 2, so when x is 0, y is 2, is my y-intercept. Now, this is not enough to graph this function. So what I recommend doing is finding a couple points on each side of the vertical asymptote. So let's look at when x is negative 2, negative 1, 0 I already have. When x is 0, y is 2. Let's look at 1 and 2. Or find our y values. So 2/3 times negative 2 plus 1 is 2/-5. 2/3 times negative 1 plus 1 is 2/-2, which is negative 1. When x is 1, I've got 2/3 times 1 plus 1, which is 2/4 or a half. And when x is 2, I've got 3 times 2 plus 1, which is 2/7. So these aren't the best points, but let's go ahead and graph them. So when x is 2, negative 2, y is negative 2/5. So when x is 2, y is negative 2/5, like that's right out here. When x is 1, y is negative 1. When x is 0, y is 2. When x is 1, y is a half. And when x is 1, 2, y is 2/7, right? We're approaching our asymptote line, but we're never crossing it. So our graph is going to look something like this. Feel free to plug this into Desmos to get a prettier picture. I'll go ahead and do that right now. Now we're in Desmos. Remember, Desmos is our free graphing calculator. So let's go ahead and graph. I've got y equals 2/3x plus 1. And as you can see, our graph looked kind of like this, right? We've got our y-intercept is 2 right here. And x is 0, y is 2. And if we zoom out, you see my graph never crosses the line of our vertical asymptote, which is x is negative 1/3, and it never crosses our line, which is our y equals 0, our horizontal asymptote. See, you just have to keep zooming in to see that it doesn't actually touch. So hopefully this visualization was helpful, and you can always check your results by going into Desmos or into your graphing calculator and plugging in the equation.